Okay, good morning. So we're starting a new siman Reish Yud Ches, a very interesting siman. Brachos hanasim al hanisim. Brachos the person makes for various nisim that happened. So it says the Mechaber Sif Aleph. Haraya mokum shenasu by nisim Yisroel. If someone sees a mokum, a place where nisim were performed for Klal Yisrael, Kagoyin, and he gives a few examples. Kagoyin Mabras Hayom, where they went through Yam Suf. Mabras Hayadin, the Mishnah is going to explain each one, where they crossed the Yarden. Mabras Nachale Arnoin, Va'avne El Govish, Shal Beis Chayrein, Ve'even Shebikesh Oig Lizrek Al Yisrael, Ve'even Sheyoshev Oleha Moshe Be'es Melchemes Amalek. The stone that Moshe Rabbeinu davened for Klal Yisrael when they fought against Amalek. V'choy Mas Yerichai. All of these cases, Mevorich she'oso nisim la'aviseinu b'mokum hazeh. So if I can identify any of these places and we stand by them, then we make that bracha. Ubein bracha zu, ubein shah brachas hariyah hareihem kasha brachas v'chulam b'haskaras shem u'malchus. So these brachas you make b'shem u'v'malchus. Okay, so what are these places? Says the Mishnah Berurah, you've got an aleph. Kagoin mabras hayom mokum she'avri Yisrael b'yam b'yabosha. So that's the Kriyas Yamsuf. Mabras hayarden mokum she'avri Yisrael b'yarden b'charava and dry land b'mei Yeshua. That's the second one. Mabras nachrei arnoin. It says in the Mishnah Berurah, you've got in Gimel Mefurish b'shas shayu shnei harim ve'emek b'neihem. Rashi brings it on Chumash. There were two mountains and there was a valley between. And Klal Yisrael, when they were going through the Midbar, they had to get through that valley. And the Emarim were hiding in those caves, in the mountains, but Sidei ha'emek, on the sides of that valley, that when the Klal Yisrael were going through the valley, they would come out from their hiding places in the caves of the mountain. And a miracle happened, that the mountains joined together, when the Aaron came through, and all the Emarim hiding, waiting to attack Klal Yisrael, were killed. So that's the next place. Then Shal Beis Chayrein, we saw the Avnei El Govish of Beis Chayrein. What is that? Shehushlechu min hashamayim al ha'umus shamilchemu Yeshua. For those those nations who fought against Yeshua, stones came from Shamayim to protect Yeshua, k'dichsiv b'kro, like it says in the Navi. And then Evan Shebikesh, the next one is an Evan, a stone that Oig Melech HaBashan wanted to throw on Klal Yisrael. Says Rashi, says Mishbura, so you've got an Heiken Mefurish Ba'agoda, like it's brought in the Gemara, She'okar ha'bayis tlosa parsa, that the mountain was uprooted 3 parsos kadei la'apila al Yisrael, v'nasa neis shelo ha'yochel apila, that he couldn't lift it. Ayin sham brachos and daladom beis v'ayim behalacha. Now, interestingly, the next one was the Even Shayoshav Oleha Moshe Be'is Milchama. Now this is very interesting. If I were to ask you, where did the miracle happen? It happened on the battleground. That's where Klal Yisrael fought against Amalek, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu helped Klal Yisrael. Moshe was at the top of the mountain davening, but vice days, you see from here that it's the tefillah that actually creates the nes. Yes, there was actual battle down below, but it was Moshe Rabbeinu's tefillah that was affecting the nes. And you see that there are other places. It says the Chizkuni, I think, says when it comes to it says that in Parshas Vayetze, I think these are the 12 sons of Yaakov Avinu, Asher Hulad, Asher Noilad, b'Padan Aram. So the Rishonim ask, the Mefarshim ask, they weren't all born in Padan Aram. Only 11 of them were born. Binyamin was born later. So some say Al Pi Rov, the majority were there. That's what it means. But I think the Chizkuni says no, he was born there. Why? Because that's where Yaakov Avinu, that's where Rachel davened for him. That's where Rachel davened, and since that's where she davened, Rachel davened for him, that is actually where he was born. It's the same vart over here. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Bar Tanura says that over here on the Mishnah. It's a Mishnah in Tanis, I think.
That's the only one. All the others were Nisim.
Yeah, but this is all. No, it was a nace because here the nace was the Moshe Rabbeinu davened. HaKadosh Baruch Hu listened that Klal Yisrael succeeded against Amalek. Okay, v'choy mas Yericha, says Mishnah Berurah in Sifkat Vav, shenivla b'mkoyma, it just sort of sunk into the spot. The walls just sank into the ground. So in all of these cases where a person sees these famous places where miracles happen to Klal Yisrael, you make a bracha she'oso nisim la'avoseinu b'mokum hazeh. Says the Mishnah Berurah Kotan Zayin Kosa Mogen Avram Lechayre Mashma the Davka Hanach v'Chademesh and Izka Hanes Metoich HaMokum. Davka these places which where the miracle happened Mitoich HaMokum because of the location. Pirush Shebiroseinu Mabras Hayam. For example, we see the place where Klal Yisrael crossed the Yam Suf. Nizkar Manachnu, we recall Shahamayim Elu Nichatz Lugzarim, that the walls they became like walls and they divided. V'chein b'yardin hoyanes v'mayim gufa k'dichsiv b'krot, the actual water split. V'chein avnei al govish yodim onu she'elu heim avonim shebeim nasin nisim. We know that, for example, we can identify these are the stones. Avol belav hochi kagoin, but in other words, the actual items of the miracle are there. The water of the Yam Suf, the actual avonim that we're talking about. But if you just come to the place where a miracle happens, kagoin b'vo'enu somach l'Yerushalayim, you get close to Yerushalayim. Shekar sham neis be'es melchemes Sancherev. For example, there was a miracle there with Sancherev. Sheyotza Malach Hashem ve'emes kol hamachane. The night before the Milchama, that the Malach Hashem came and destroyed Sancherev and his entire army. Ein mevarchin al kagoin zeh she'osanim. In that situation, you don't make she'osanisim. She'ein haneis nikar mitoich hamokum. That when you walk through Yerushalayim, you don't. It's not nikar. It's not recognizable that this is the place that Sancherev was destroyed. It's got to be something very specific about the actual place. Pirush, afagav she'ef shelechavin mokum shenad. Yeah, you can think, hey, a nes happened here. Afal pichein ein hanes nikar. It's not nikar. It's not recognizable from the place. Shari lo begufa adom anas nes. It wasn't this particular ground. Miu al nes sheloi. But when it comes to a personal nes, afilu ein nikar mitoich hamokum kol shemagia lemokum shesham kar hanes mevorich. But whereas there, you get to the place, you make the bracha. So the marshal, I'm please going to get to Poland tomorrow. So, like I told you yesterday, we'll see it in Sif Dalet. You go to a place where miracles happened, and not only to you, but to La Voisa as well, we'll see. So even though it's not the actual water or whatever, but you get to the place for a personal nes, even though just getting to that location, you make the bracha. Masha Enkein in Sif Aleph, the places that the miracles that happen to Klal Yisrael, you need the actual item that the nes refers to, the avonim, the water, whatever. But just coming through Yerushalayim and thinking that there was a miracle with Sancherev, it wasn't the gufa adama, therefore you don't make a bracha nowadays on the Ma'aseh of Sancherev. Okay, Siv Kotzen Ches, Ovein b'shah brachos, hanizkarim b'simen sha'achazeh, ba'askar shem v'malchus, and you say these brachos b'shem u'v'malchus, v'chein tzarech lo menami atzo v'elekeinu, k'moi b'shah brachos k'muras. Okay, good. Siv Beis, al neis shenasa, L'ktsas Yisrael. What if about a miracle that happened only to some of Klal Yisrael? Kolzman sheloi nasa l'chol Yisrael arubon v'afilu nasa l'ktsas shvatim ein mevarchin olav. It's got this only applies to where it's happened to all or the majority of Klal Yisrael, not to a minority. Ela oisim shenas Elohem hanes ba'atzmom. Unless, of course, you are the person to whom the nes happened, then that is going to be caught by Sif Dalet. Okay, Gimel. Kol elu hadvarim einam ela kasheroi oisom mishleishim l'shleishim yoim v'oz heim chayva kamoi b'pam rishona. So if a person goes to the place of Kriyas Yamsuf or goes to the Even that Moshe Rabbeinu sat on, you only make the bracha when you go every 30 days. That's the normal rule. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot Yudalef mishleishim chutz miyom she'roa v'chutz miyom she'omid bo'ato. Interesting. That means it's 30 days exclusive. You don't include the day where you actually made the bracha last time, nor do you include today. So it's 30 days intervening between the two. V'oz heim v'koidim lochein osa. In less than 30 days, you don't make the bracha b'rachos levatola. Otherwise, it'll be a bracha levatola. And then more than 30 days, it's a chayva kamoi b'pam rishona, like it was in the first time round. Now, says the Mishnah Berurah, a great question. Ve'ein lahakshas ma'ishna b'birchas ra'omim v'zvois b'birchas b'samim. That Hashem bevarich b'chol pam, with thunder and lightning, or you smell b'samim. So long as it's not continually doing it, but there you make it much more repeatedly. You can make it many times a day. Like we said previously, Deshani hasam shemevarich haraomim v'zikim chadoshim, because there it's a new thunder, it's a new lightning. And so too with the smell of besamim, it's a new smell that you are now smelling. Nothing new happened, you're still just going past the mokum of Kriyas Yamsuf. and therefore nothing's changed. Al Kain, therefore, and therefore, in this situation where nothing's actually changed, you only make the bracha every 30 days. And why 30 days? If you look at footnote 8, he says, 30 days is like more than that is considered something that's new. That's why we call it a chodesh. It's lashon of newness. Even though it's not exactly 30 days. Okay, say that. So that's a very interesting difference. When it comes to thunder and lightning, you can make many times because it's a new thunder, it's a new lightning, it's a new smell that you're smelling. Masha'en kein here, nothing's changed. You're coming to the same mokum. Okay, dalet. If you come to a place where a miracle happened to an individual, you do not make a bracha. But that individual, he does make a bracha. What bracha? Mevarech she'osol lines b'mokum hazeh. He makes that bracha. He makes that bracha as well, that a miracle happens to my forefather in this place. Says the Mishnah Berurah Yudalit, she'nasa neis liyochid, v'kvam mavu b'sif beis, the kol zman she'nasa neis Rav Yisroel, kiyochid anin alei. And therefore, if it's for anything, if it wasn't for Rav Yisroel, you've got a din of a yochid. Avol hu atzmai hainu, k'shechoizu magia sham acha shekor le'anes. If he goes back to that place, so if he goes back to that place where a miracle happened to him personally, then if he goes back, within 30 days, he doesn't make a bracha. Only every 30 days. The same rules apply. If you look at number 9, he says, what about someone's have Rabbi Lau? Yeah, if he goes back to Auschwitz, he wasn't in Auschwitz, where he goes back to, where was he? Buchenwald. Yeah, he was in Buchenwald. So if he goes back, now he was a child. So what if the miracle happened to you when you were a child? So he says here in footnote number 9, doesn't make a difference. Even though the miracle happened to him when he was a child, he was saved from some disaster that, he was crossing a bridge, the bridge collapsed or something. So in that situation, even though it happened to him as a child, you still make a bracha. And not just to him, it says in Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Tezayin, I am be'el yirah b'shechriya. When it comes to a child and a grandchild, they need to make a bracha. That the child and the grandchild make the bracha whether they were born before the nace happened or whether it happened afterwards. Mishum kvod avim, because that's considered covered for their parents. Or minechet veilech, from the great grandchild onward, ein mevarchin elim kein noldu aviseim. Then they would only make the bracha if their parents, in other words, the child of the person who had the nace to, was born afterwards. Because in that respect, they're all shutfim in that nace. And that's really the situation with our, when we go to Poland. Last year it was an amazing thing. We had a group of about 80 odd boys, and we got to we make it at the place where the selection is, where the trains came in and then they came out. And they make it there. The J Roots Chaver that we go with, have got a special cloth they're having the bracha from, and there were 17 boys who made the bracha. 17. They made it together, and that's exactly this halacha, because they're making the bracha. They were born. No doubt their great grandfathers, most of them their grandfathers were born after the miracle happened, because the kids, they were teenagers. The great grandfather, they survived the Holocaust. And then they built a family, and they are now the fourth generation. So they were born afterwards. So they're shutfim, and therefore they make the bracha. She also neis la'ovi, says Mishnah Berurah Yud Zeh koi al ben. This is going on the son, and he makes the bracha, the nusach of the bracha that the son makes is she also neis la'ovi b'makom hazeh. So the grandson would make that bracha. Here, let's just do hey. What if a person has many miracles? He was traveling through a midbar and he was attacked many times, and lots of miracles happened. So if he comes to a place where there were lots of miracles, he makes one bracha, and that includes all the various things that happened. Says the Mishnah Berurah Yud Ches, Kol shahar makom zeu dafka b'yochid. That's talking about an individual. Av b'nisei Rabbi, when a miracle happens to Klal Yisroel, to many people, shemechuyev kol echad lahaski levarich, where lots of people have got to make a bracha. K'shemagia l'makom aleis ein tzorich lahaski kol hamakom shenasu b'am nisim Yisrael. You don't have to mention all the things. For Gam b'yochid gufa kotzah magen Avram, the dafka hu ba'atzma, when dafka for him himself. Av b'noi ein mechuyev lahaski kol nisim shenasu l'aviv, and you just do one. V'yichlol kulam, and you mention all the others and you group them together. V'tzorich lahaski mitchile makom she'omed boi. Then you mention other places. V'da she'af she'klal shar nisim mikol mokum impoga by achakacha mokum shenasim shar nisim mevorech oidapam afilu yem b'yem. In other words, a person went to a place where lots of miracles happened. So you make one bracha that includes everything, and then you happen to chance upon the second place. So then you make another bracha. But otherwise, you just make one bracha and it covers all of them. Okay, but I think it's probably a good place to start. Yeah. Yeah, so I've heard that before. But for example, I went with a friend, another teacher of mine, whose grandfather was on the wall, and he was about to be shot, and all of a sudden the fire alarm went off, and everyone had to abandon. There was a roll call. So she made the bracha at that place. She made maybe she made Hashem Malchus. She has to to ask her own posuk exactly. But it seems to be that according to this straight application, okay, in Hashkafa you can discuss is it appropriate to make. I hear that. Yeah. Yeah. But I guess if you're going through when B'derech HaTeva, the majority of people are going to be killed, and you survive, it's no doubt through Nisim. What do you think?
I'm saying that Yerushalayim, in Israel,
Yeah.
they're Nisim every day.
Yeah. No,
It's
but you've got to
mess.
be,
It's a mess.
true, but it's got to be directly involved in something. Yeah. All right, Seder.
Sure.
Okay.
Shalom.